Wouldn't it be great if there was one tool you could use to battle addiction with success? Can there be one solution to free you from the misery of addiction? What price would you pay for that? Well, we're giving it away free in this video. We're going to reveal that power and give you an amazing formula later in the video. This is an easy-to-remember formula that will help you transform your life. If you're not the one battling addiction in your life, but you know someone who is, we ask that you forward this video to those in need. You may have already guessed that awareness is the spiritual tool that holds superpowers. It's the force that shines light on the hidden forces that fuel addiction. Like the little foxes that spoil the vine, these small, unnoticed triggers, emotions, habits, and thoughts can derail recovery. Awareness begins with honesty, admitting addiction exists, and choosing to observe one's inner world without denial. It breaks autopilot living and helps us see patterns, especially emotional ones, that lead to relapse. Through tools like journaling and mindfulness, awareness allows us to recognize triggers early, name our emotions, and respond rather than react. It doesn't cure addiction alone, but becomes the foundation upon which all other spiritual tools rest. Without awareness, we stay enslaved to our habits. With it, we become free. Have you ever wondered why you keep going back to the same destructive habit, even when you know better? You told yourself the last time that you would never do it again. Some of you even swore to God and you dead mother you wouldn't do it again. So why do you allow yourself to fall back into the same rut? Maybe you've tried everything. You've gone to meetings. You may have entered rehab. Even your willpower doesn't work, and you still found yourself slipping back. Well, let me tell you a secret that few addicts are aware of. The secret is that it's not always the big things that take you down, but it's the little foxes. It's those small, almost invisible things that spoil the vineyard of your life. Today, we're talking about awareness, the quiet spiritual power that might just be the missing key in your journey to freedom. Your life will change when you begin to practice awareness about your triggers. I want you to picture this. Let's say you're walking through a vineyard. The sun's shining, the grapes are full and ripe, and on the surface, everything looks perfect. But beneath the surface, at the roots, something is quietly at work. Little foxes nibbling unseen, and soon the fruit begins to spoil. The Bible says it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. It's all those little irritations, the small annoyances and the disappointments. Fighting addiction is like that, the author says, and he should know because he lived it. In 2008, he was in a dark place. 40 years of addiction had stolen everything. His kids, his relationships, his jobs, his businesses, and ultimately, even his self-worth. He had tried it all: AA, NA, jail time, inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, but nothing stuck. He did manage to stay sober for 1 year, but it was the most miserable year of his life. He tried this on sheer willpower alone. Something was missing. It was then when he became aware, really aware, that instead of trying to fight these urges to use, he needed to start working on root of his triggers. He started working on the little things, not just of the addiction itself, but the tiny triggers leading him into using again. He used the HALT theory he learned in an inpatient facility in the state of Washington. These 4 agitators are little foxes. They seem simple and minor, but they are monsters in the battle of addiction. The H stood for hungry. You are more vulnerable to triggers when you are hungry. So he made sure that he didn't stay hungry for long periods. He always kept a snack or candy bar with him. The A is for angry. This was a big one to monitor. Anger is an emotion that you can't control. It comes on you suddenly and without warning. He used other practices outlined in the book to manage anger. L is for lonely. Never allow yourself to get too lonely. This is a big trigger. He went for walks in nature, sought adequate company of non-users. Joining a community is a good recommendation. That could be a religious group or clubs with the same interests as yours. The author joined a church and took up journaling. He credits his 17 years of freedom from alcohol to these methods. And lastly, the T is for tired. You can't afford to let yourself become too tired. because this weakens your mind towards triggers. He started to get proper sleep, eat good food and exercising, staying careful not to overdo either one. The little foxes are also a jealous thought here. A quiet moment of self-pity there. A flash of anger you didn't acknowledge or try to manage. Of course. These weren't major life events, but they are the silent architects of your relapse. They are programs that run in the background of your mind. The author said once he saw them, he really saw them, and he began to fight back. You must learn to stay in a constant state of awareness. You must stay in touch with your inner self. What's going on inside your head? What's going on inside your body? Tune into your emotions. Awareness is not just noticing your behavior, it's also understanding it. It's stepping off autopilot and saying, wait a minute, what am I really feeling right now? Psychologists call it emotional recognition. Spiritual teachers call it the light of truth. But the author calls it the first real taste of freedom, because addiction thrives in the shadows. It relies on your ignorance of the main cause of these triggers. Awareness brings in the light. And here's the best part. Once you become aware of what's happening inside, your thoughts and your emotions, you begin to notice patterns. Once aware of the patterns, you are able to choose differently. You can eliminate that drink you reached for every time you felt lonely, or you can forgo that hit after a stressful day. You can resist that scroll through social media instead of facing your pain. You don't have to react on impulse anymore. Awareness gives you a pause button. It creates a space between what happens and how you respond. Here are some practical tips, something you can do today. Sit for 2 minutes and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Then write it down in a journal. Don't try to make any judgment about the feeling. Do this daily. It's called journaling awareness, and it changes lives. You may discover that alcohol is your lead substance. Everything else, drugs, bad choices, emotional chaos, flowed from that one doorway. With awareness, you can finally shut it. The author stopped concentrating on quitting drugs and instead concentrated on not taking that first drink no matter what. Through these methods and the other practices mentioned in the book, he has not touched alcohol in over 17 years. So if you're tired of living in circles, if you're ready to stop running and start seeing, begin the practice of awareness. It will be the beginning of the end of addiction and the beginning of a new you. If this message speaks to you, I invite you to go deeper. Get a copy of Living the Virtuous Life on Amazon. There, you'll discover 20 spiritual tools, just like awareness, that help me break the chains of addiction and live with peace, purpose, and power. Until next time, stay aware, stay strong, and remember, you are more powerful than your patterns.